Hello and welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about a very important topic and actually a question that I get all of the time when it comes to healing and even transformation. But the problem that people message in with all of the time is this, is they'll say something like, I've used this and this and this method or this and this and this method, and I've got my pain down, but it keeps coming back and keeps coming back. Or people will message in and they'll say they got their pain to go down, but then some other illness popped up even worse. And I see that all of the time. And I want to share with you what I'm seeing and what I see happen all of the time and what you want to do instead. And basically it's this. A lot of times I'll see people who will link up illness into a negative way in their mind, basically, that's not serving them. Or what they're doing is they're bypassing by trying to just put a Band-Aid on the issue. And then what's happening is the mind and the symptoms and the problem maybe feel like they're gone for a bit, and then they come back even stronger or louder, or they keep coming back. And I want to explain why that happens and how that happens. Now, just start with a simple foundation. Information gets linked up in the mind when two things happen at the same time. And to give you a quick example that you may have heard of is Pavlov and the dog. In his study, he rang the bell and he fed the dog. He rang the bell, fed the dog, rang the bell, fed the dog. After a while, when he did that, all he had to do was ring the bell and the dog was instantly salivating, even without any food, because that was linked up. So the dog was having a physical response just to the bell because that was so linked up. Or even on a positive note, somebody might get married and they have a wedding song, and that gets linked up as their wedding song because the two things happen at the same time. So what I'm seeing happen with people is, let's say they have some type of illness, and then they say, okay, well, I'm going to do a lot of self-soothing or self-love. And they start doing self-love and self-soothing and self-love and self-soothing. And they're doing it because they have the illness. So unfortunately, what ends up getting linked up is self-love. Like somebody will say, well, I have to be nice to myself, or I have to be loving to myself because of this illness. And then so what happens is the illness starts going away. Now their reason for self-love is no longer there. And so what happens is the illness needs to come back. And so, or what else can happen is this, and I see this unfortunately all the time, is somebody might have a pattern of, let's say, guilt or shame or self-criticism, where they're really mean and hard on themselves. And then if illness is there, or pain or whatnot, they've linked up that now they have to be nice to themselves. Now they have to be nice to themselves. So what happens is that once the illness or pain or problem is gone, because they didn't fix that underlying issue, the underlying issue comes back, because that's what's in the mind is, a pattern of self-criticism or guilt or whatnot. It's like a temporary fix, if you will, where they have an illness, and then so they're nice to themselves and kind to themselves and loving to themselves. But then if the illness goes away completely, that old patterning is still there in the subconscious mind and it comes back. Or what I've seen happen is that somebody's having that illness or whatnot, and then they have that underlying pattern, and let's say they do make a mistake. Let's say they make a mistake, or they do something that they feel guilty or bad for, and let's say it's not a great mistake. Let's say it's something they feel really guilty for or really bad for. Not to say they did it on purpose, but they feel really guilty or bad for. What then has to happen? Well, typically in that case, if they're nice to themselves because of illness, they'll need more illness, because now the guilt problem or the shame problem or the self-criticism is even higher. And so now they need more illness. And so that gets linked up. And I know this may sound counterintuitive. If you're listening to this, you might say, well, what? But remember, when two things happen at the same time, they get linked up, and it doesn't need to make logical sense. For example, you hear me use all the time the awareness that a cutter, somebody who cuts themselves, can get it linked up to euphoria, or safety or control or a feeling of, euphoria, safety, control, reassurance. So that feeling can get linked up in the mind, even when it doesn't make logical sense. And so what I've seen happen over and over and over is I'm seeing more and more people who are saying, exactly that. Well, I was, meditating, or I was, working on positive thinking and kindness and self-love and self-soothing. And they go, oh my gosh, the pain started going down. And then what happens is the pain comes up and they do that again. And then it goes down. And then it comes up and then it goes down. And then it comes up and then it goes down. And ultimately what they're doing, unfortunately, is just like Pavlov and the dog. They're linking up, where Pavlov and the dog linked up the bell and food, and the bell and food, it's self-love with illness, self-kindness, because they go, oh, well, I'm sick, I get to be kind to myself. Oh, I'm sick, I get to be kind to myself. And so that gets linked up over and over because they never fix the underlying real problem, which is maybe a pattern of self-criticism or guilt or being mean to themselves. And so that pattern never got fixed, and they put that Band-Aid on it, and they're bypassing it, and it ends up showing up as a bigger problem. And I see that often. So often, by the way, that people don't fix the underlying issue. I see that so often that I actually even put it in my book. Because I'll see people do exactly that, where they start to get rid of the pattern, they start to do some self-kindness on top of something, and they start to bring it down, and they don't rewire the mind all of the way. And so exactly, that was really, as I was going through my book and writing my book, for that very reason, because I see it so often. I literally put that exact example in there. Somebody who is following through, Diego, following through, getting the pain gone, felt ecstatic, didn't rewire the mind all of the way, and it came back. And so that's the very reason that I use that example. And that's also the reason you'll hear me use the example all the time on past episodes, where I say you really, really, really need to follow through. I'll say literally at the end of every single episode, when I work with a volunteer to show them how to release pain or create a transformation, I always say, I make this look very easy. It does take a deeper level of change. Or if we think about the last episode, where I work with our beautiful volunteer, Alfred, in his episode, he was trying to just self-soothe, but his self-image was off. Now think about this for a moment, and I see it all of the time. When somebody has an image of self that is insecure or not good enough or inferior, and then they have some type of fear and pain and whatnot, and then they just try to self-soothe, like, oh, it's okay, I'm going to be kind to self, I'm going to be kind to self. And don't get me wrong, of course, being kind to yourself is great, but not because of illness. You don't want to wire it in your mind that you're bringing in self-love or self-kindness because of illness. You want to be kind to yourself because it's wise. You want to be kind to yourself because you're an incredible being, because you're you, because your mind is automatically wired to love who you are, to be kind to self, not because you have an illness or problem or pain or issue, but because you're you. And you love who you are. That's where you really want to go. And so unfortunately, I see a lot of times people doing the surface level. So they're bypassing and they go, oh my gosh, I got the surface down, and they start to feel better. Boom. And then either the symptoms keep coming back, which is a problem because it keeps getting wired up over and over and over and over again. And so there's that, or it starts showing up in a different area of the body. And it's so common. And so for that reason, I just want to emphasize that, yes, the mind can be complex. And so what's happening is sometimes people go, well, let me just do the simple. And they kind of want to bypass it. And I get it. I wanted to do that too. And you'll hear me all the time where, I was meditating for years and years in positive thinking. And sure, I could get my pain down at times, but my body didn't heal until I really understood to go deeper, deeper, deeper. And so is the mind complex? Yeah, understanding it. But let's be honest. We come into this world and we learn things like science and history and geometry and calculus and all of these things, and computers and programming or apps. But then when it comes to the mind, we're like, yeah, I want to bypass that. I just want to what's the simple to do? I don't really want to understand my mind. Wait a second. We really want to understand our mind because that's the gift. Is that the more that you understand your mind, this is what I see people do all the time, is if we get specific and we really understand and identify the specific problem, it takes to do that. It takes establishing a relationship with yourself. It takes understanding your own subconscious mind. It takes real change. And then when you do that and then you heal yourself, then you say, okay, now this relationship with self and life and God or universe or whatnot, but this real insight into self and the subconscious mind. And you say, okay, what other areas of life do I want to keep changing? How about this area? How about this area? How about relationships, love, connection, expanding, growing, flourishing? That's the point. The skill, the understanding, the empowerment that comes from that is powerful. And so, point being, there's a few things. Is first and foremost, if you find your mind saying, I just want to bypass, I just want to, I don't want to really understand my mind, I just want to find a bypass Band-Aid, I'd encourage you to go deeper for lasting, real change, real healing, real transformation, so you don't feel like it's whack-a-mole, it's like the problem's going away and coming back and going away and coming back, and it's getting further linked up in a deeper area of the mind and just showing up in a different way. So when you really understand the depth of your mind and how it works, it's healing, it's empowering, it's exciting, it's transformative. And so I want to invite you to think about that in this way, just because, of course, I'm seeing more and more people are going, oh, but this Band-Aid, oh, but this Band-Aid, this positive thinking, this meditation, this calming, this nervous system calming, etc., etc., etc. And yet they're not rewiring the deeper issue for real healing. And so it feels like a roller coaster, or the symptoms keep coming back, and it can feel frustrating. And going deep, going all of the way, genuinely reprogramming your mind, that's what you want. It's transformative, it's pivotal, it's incredible, it's empowering. And that, of course, is my hope for you, to heal yourself, to change your life. So that's today's quick IQ episode, and I want to invite you, please do take a quick moment to hit the share button. Share it with somebody you love, somebody you care about, or somebody you don't even know, because the more that every single person in our world is happy and healthy and loved and empowered, the better this world is for all of us. And so please do make a point to hit the share button, and please do make a point to have an incredible, wonderful rest of your day, loving life and loving yourself, not because of illness or hardship or problems, but loving you for you. So that is my hope, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. We'll see you there.